All right, and we'll start with the hard stuff. If you could say and spell your first and last name and tell me your title here at Trinity College.
My name is Peter Sobering, Peter Sobering. I'm the Director of Information Systems at Trinity College.
Awesome.
1 second, Steve, that second, that loud is
Okay.
for speeding.
All right.
They're good?
Yep, we're good to go.
Testing.
All right. So, well, tell me about, the first time you heard this project, heard about it. What were your initial fears or concerns?
Well, the first time I heard about the project, I hear about a lot of projects, and many of them never come to pass. I thought this was characteristically one of those that would never come to pass. I heard about modular constructed residential buildings being constructed in Maine or somewhere and being trucked in and dropped on a site piece by piece. But that wasn't the most surprising thing that I heard. I heard it was all, and this was maybe in August. I'm not sure when I first heard about it, but it was supposed to be up and occupied for the coming semester, for the 2013 fall semester, which seemed like a pretty short timeline. So that was my first impression, is this is a dream. Somebody's dream, it'll never happen.
The more you dug into it, did you have any other fears or concerns when you learned about the process?
Well, the timeline was a big deal. I thought that we were trying to push this thing. When I finally got to the point where I believed it was really going to happen, I thought, yeah, but it's not really going to go in by September of 2013. This is going to be a project that'll go on, as many do here. And so that was my concern, really. And we were being pushed pretty hard to produce, to look at plans and to make modifications to plans and to educate the Kirchhoff engineers as to how we do certain things, access control, electronic locks, wireless networking, and it seemed like, it was a lot to happen in a little time.
It's funny, you jumped right in the area that I was headed, and it was sort of to find out specific to, networking and information technology. When you started looking at a construction project that's modular in nature, specific to what you do every day, what were some of those other concerns that started to rise? A little different than the guy who's got to paint or anything like that. Hang on 1 second, I'll make sure this ambulance is far enough in the back, Kevin?
No, it's
Okay.
still there.
They're coming this way. But I want to ask, we'll give you a green light to answer it in a minute, and maybe I'll rephrase the question. Are they working?
I think
Still
you do
coming.
now.
Yeah, but tell us, specific to what you do every day. What rows? Never mind the calendar, but pursuant to that date that's sneaking up. What is it about the information world that you were like, holy crap, they didn't think about this?
There's a lot of unknowns when you're talking about delivering cables in buildings that are built, that come out of the ground and are built with on site, the pathways that we depend upon, the conduits. How is that going to happen in a building that's constructed elsewhere and just delivered? That took a while to get into my head, and how is that going to happen?
I'll bet, because in the other way, you're probably going off of plans to some degree, but you get that opportunity to kick the tires or go walk through the structure.
And make modifications in the field. And this sounded very rigid, that if it's built there, there aren't going to be any field changes, very few. And a thing like a conduit that's missing is going to be a real issue. So making sure that we got the pathways to get what we needed, where we needed it, was a big deal. And so there was some convincing, at times I think we asked for a lot, and it seemed like a lot, and even when I was saying it, it sounded like a lot. But the engineers sort of got that, we had one chance to get this right, and they were very accommodating for the most part. I thought the group that Kirchhoff brought in was good. They were very good, very accommodating.
And what were some of the accommodations that they made, or how did they make you feel a little bit better? What was it that kind of...
I think, like I said, when you have one chance really to get it right, the tendency is to overbuild. And so I think we had to talk a number of things out that even to my ears sounded like they were being overbuilt. And so they were either very good at accommodating the overbuilt product, or they were able to allay my fears that about modifications in the field, or about making sure that we had enough undergrounds or underfloor access points, and that our closets were large enough and there'd be enough conduits going into the closets to accommodate future expansion. And in the end, I felt pretty comfortable. And the proof is in the pudding. We haven't actually seen these things yet. That'll be a very interesting day when they drop the product on the ground and we can look around.
Yeah, we were talking about that after Brian left, about how, boy, when the place gets lit up and
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Go,
Yeah. Oh wow.
And this is just sort of a crazy question of mine. So they put a bunch of extra conduit in. You work in a world that changes the minute you buy a product, and you influence technology to advance.
Yeah.
Every time we buy a camera, the bastards come out with a new one.
Yeah.
So thinking to that part of, you used the term future expansion. Yeah. How'd you do that?
Well, there's a lot of most everything that we work with is connected with wires. Even the wireless gear needs wires to run. And that's the technology today, whether it's building management control or fire alarms or wireless access points, wired ports in rooms, access control devices on doors, surveillance cameras. All of these things need wires to connect to. And so having the wide channels and the ability, once the structure's in place, to be able to go back and put additional material into the conduits was a big deal for us. And we pushed pretty hard on that. We ended up getting, I think, everything we need. And but that was a lot of the beginning meetings were sort of coming to grips with what are we actually getting, and how are we gonna work around the finality of the product. And that turned out to be adding more pathways into the project in the beginning when we could.
That's good. We got that plane coming. It didn't step on us too bad.
It's pretty far down.
Okay.
You guys have your ears up on everything.
Oh yeah. Somebody always shows up with a chainsaw. Right?
Leaf blowers are huge. Yeah.
Any surprises along the way, for good or for bad? Anything that you just thought, didn't see that coming?
No, I wouldn't say there were big surprises. I would say that I may have some wishes that could we go back and change the way this was done. I might ask for more after the meeting, either after the meeting FaceTime to rectify some problems firsthand, or even follow-up meeting notes. Or more interaction, because typically we would meet with Kirchhoff on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And there were, it's hard to remember week to week sometimes what was decided on. So we made a lot of decisions, and sometimes it wasn't clear whether those decisions were cast in stone. And so some of the follow-up material, I think, that would have been very helpful would have been notes on the meeting, decisions that were made, some places along the way that we could check against one another to make sure that we still had the same idea and the same plan.
Trying to stifle that for a while.
And you did hear the phone, right?
Yep.
It was in between.
Really? Oh, that was me, I think.
Did
Was
you
that
turn
yours?
it off?
No, I have a meeting and it's telling me in 15 minutes I have a meeting. It won't, it should not happen again.
Okay, great, thanks.
I just called, told them you'd be late. No,
Looks
we
like it will.
we probably make that. Excuse me. Anything else that you might want to change? If you could turn the clock back, what would you, to make it?
I'd lengthen I would lengthen the delivery time on the project. I think it's a very short. This was built in a hurry, and there were stresses involved with that. I think we didn't feel the stresses that the Kirchhoff guys felt, I'm sure. Although they're more familiar with this, but it was a lot to get done and a lot to think about, and it's all new technology and new building processes. So we were new, and even though I've been doing this quite a while, never have I worked on a modular building, and never at a clip that, never having seen it, and a lot of faith, right? You're running on faith. So.
IT guys don't like to run.
We don't.
faith,
Yeah,
I
we're
know
IT
this.
guys. We're IT.
So you've kind of just answered the next two questions in what you said. What do you think from the students' point? Are you one of these guys who went to school here?
No, I did not go to
Okay.
school here.
Where'd you go to school?
Went to school at UNH in New Hampshire.
Oh, great.
What do I think they're going to think of this?
Yeah.
Well, I can only imagine that these are newer, and they have more comfort facilities and more of everything. This is going to be, I would think, a luxury accommodation for students. I think they'll perceive it as such. The area, if you could plop one of these down in one of the more desirable areas on campus, I think, these would be that would be the high rent district. But as it is, I think, it's on the edge of campus. So I think the facilities themselves will attract kids, and you will see their popularity. I think you should see them be quite popular. It's my guess. I haven't seen one, but the pictures look beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool to get on the other side of it.
It's an old campus with a lot of old housing, and some of it's not, some of it's 100 or more years old. So this is new, it's clean, it's modern, it has all the facilities, and it should fit in well.
They'll actually be able to open the windows.
Can open the windows, yeah.
What about the impact that it'll end up having on a campus like this? You sort of mentioned it'll be like the high rent district. But how about pursuant to thinking about space and how the place is used?
It's a good question. This is a very good question for Amy, who is the residential life person. And they have a lottery system here, and the quality of the housing, or the perceived quality of the housing, gets graded in some way, and it becomes a more popular unit. And through the lottery system, their value increases or decreases. So in a year, we'll see, after people have been in and out for a year, I think we'll have a very good idea of how the students have reacted to the new rooms.
Yeah, I think there's the ultimate proof of the pudding.
Yeah.
Is that demographic buying it in.
Yeah.
Did Trinity need a project like this, or?
We have a lot of old housing, and I think I would say that we needed replacement housing very badly. Some of the dorms had and continue to have very high deferred maintenance costs, and these are going to replace those dorms in particular along Crescent Street, and so I think it's a good idea. Yeah, one way or the other, whether you build them modularly and drop them on the ground, or build them up. I think we needed the space, the newer spaces.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I sort of look at, I have, my kids are teenagers.
Yeah.
They're in 9th grade, they're thinking about college, but I think that, I've listened to them sort of talk about, we went to visit one of their cousins in an old dorm up at Bates in Maine.
Same
and
thing here.
Yeah, they were just like, probably a lot like UNH, cinder blocks and all that stuff. And they're like, it's cold, it's probably expensive to heat, the place isn't
Yeah,
green. And
yeah.
you realize that this is going to be a green thing, and you know,
Yeah,
whether it's from
that's
the
good.
student's point of
Sure.
view or from an IT point of view,
Mhm.
any of those salient benefits that you can see. You know, you talked about
Yeah.
the deferred maintenance and never mind the energy, but you know,
Yeah.
can you speak to any of those advantages?
Not really, because I don't know exactly what the green components are, but I think look, the dorms now that they live in, a lot of them are stone or blocks, and the heating systems are not efficient. You can go at any one day in the middle of winter down the main quad and see 0-degree temperatures outside and all the windows are open in the building. So that says something about the living conditions inside. The material being used in these buildings, it looks like you paid attention to sound, there's been good attention paid to sound dampening in between the rooms. And I think that, you know, a bunch of kids, 11 kids or so, living in one suite, you know, that can get pretty loud, and I think so good quality soundproof construction, that should bear well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Anything I didn't ask you that you think is important to mention in this, whether it's you know, something that only maybe you and Brian have gone and considered, or any question I didn't ask you? It's important to talk about.
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered.
Brian, any things in here that I didn't hit that we should go back to? I think I'm looking at number 4, like, and you kind of mentioned it, but you feel you're being
Throughout the project, yeah, absolutely. We all felt, I think, that there was good interaction with the Kirchhoff people. A guy I think you want to talk to who's probably had more interaction with some of the engineers has been our access control guy, Curtis, who's not here today. I think you want to make sure you get him, because he's worked pretty hard to get the access control stuff right. And it's complicated. I'm not as familiar with that as I am the IT stuff, but it's, you know, it's complicated stuff.
right. That's all just information gathering. We're good. I wouldn't want to use any of that. But what about security and things like, when you look at it from that point of view? Will the new place, will this new modular construction buy better security, or will it just be easier to provide that?
We've gone out of our way to provide monitoring on exterior doors. We've got wired network exterior doors on all 52 exteriors. These are card access readers. So the security coming in and out is pretty much state of the art. I think the security into the suites and up and down to the rooms also card access. It's pretty much a standard on campus. So I can't say that it's an improvement over what we have, but it's certainly solid as to what our current standards are.
That's great.
So, Peter, having being skeptical about the schedule, the pipe dream, and now having been in it for the number of months that you've been in it, and kind of gotten onto the other side a little bit on the design process, do you think it'll get done?
Well, you know, the pressure's on you. The pressure's on you folks now, and it's off of us. I think that I'm certainly less skeptical than I was in the beginning, and when I see the units come in and get assembled, it's a big project, and it's a long road from start to finish. You folks have to do everything from getting approvals from the city and the lighting and power companies and manage all that. And, you know, it's a lot of work. And then on top of that, you've got to construct the buildings. And on top of that, you've got to listen to people like us who want everything with a fence around it. And if you can pull it off, I think it'll be something. It'll be something.
That's cool. Anything that puts you over the fence of being like, what are they smoking? This isn't going to happen.
What are they
Was there anything that kind of along the way that you were like, oh, maybe they got it? Was there any moment that you sort of thought like, oh, maybe they are going to do this?
Well, I guess my initial thought, I think I dealt with some resistance in the beginning. We dealt with some resistance, and it was mostly around the cost of the access control piece. And that was my very first interaction, I think it was with Brian. I thought, boy, this is going to be a slog, because we're going to fight this every step of the way. But Brian, very quickly, once he understood that it really was part of the Trinity standard and that we were expecting access control to work, and while it's expensive, it's part of security and it's important here in the city. And once we got over our initial resistance, I think everything after that, flowed more smoothly.
Nice. Well, I think we've got everything we need. Unless,
Good.
again, if you think anything I didn't ask you, but
I think I can even make it.
see.